Hello, it's the Eurogamer.net podcast number 111, all the ones. I'm Tom Champion, and with me today, Tom Bramwell is here.
Hello, Tom Champion.
Hello, Tom. How are you?
I'm very well.
Good. And we have another guest.
Oh, hello, Tom. Hi, Tom.
It's Rob Purchase, who's appeared from underneath the table. For those of you watching the stream of this. Are you all right, Bertie?
I'm good, thank you very much. Yes, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm getting over an illness. I'm all better now. Thanks for asking.
You don't look very ropey anymore.
Less ropey.
That's
than
sort of
fewer ropey. I like your jumper.
Thank you very much. It's Christmas.
This is comedy gold.
It's almost Christmas. So last week I had an idea. Not necessarily a good idea, but an idea nonetheless. And that was to open up this week's podcast to the listeners.
It sounds like you had no ideas, actually.
Yes.
Like invite them in.
Nothing as crazy as that, Betty. Jesus. No,
we've actually got a few of them under the table.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I asked for suggestions, basically game-related suggestions for topics for the podcast.
We could have some game-related content on the podcast.
It would be for once on Twitter and your Facebooks, and and surprisingly, I had quite a number of responses. A page and a
How
half.
many? Oh,
wow!
Proving once and for all that there are definitely more than one listener. The idea is that I would take any suggestions as long as they were game related, and we had to at least attempt to talk about them.
Okay.
Whatever they are, and even if we know nothing about them, and there's quite a few of those.
Yeah, there'll be. Yeah.
Having looked through some of these
maybe
questions.
we should have a gauntlet prop, and then you could throw it down.
Right. Yeah.
On the table.
Should have thought that, shouldn't we?
You don't have to.
No, might be a bit late now.
Yeah. Okay.
We could do it next time. We could get like one of those egg timers, and just like have have to try and be as interesting as possible about something for 60 seconds or so.
That could be tough.
Or we could stick to this.
I like this
You don't
plan.
have much faith in us, do you, Tom?
God, no, this is going to be good. It's fine. This is going to be in roughly the order that I received them as well.
Okay.
So not really done any vetting at all.
Nervous and that.
The first one's quite easy. So Lexus, we'll start. Lexus 87 says, "What do you want to see in the first lot of Skyrim DLC?" And if the answer is snow elves, then you're in luck.
Have they announced it then? I was away last week, so I don't know.
Well, me too, but I believe Dawnguard.
They have Dawnguard is the name of it.
Dawnguard.
And I don't even know what they've detailed of
Brilliant.
it.
Well,
Let's skip over that quickly.
I think,
then.
maybe they've just done the name and teased at what.
Yes, they're going to announce the details. At
I would
E3.
like this. This maybe I don't know if this is a thing anyway because I didn't finish Skyrim. I only played it for 30 hours. But I would like to ride around on dragons, please.
Yes.
I too would love to ride around on dragons.
Backwards flying dragons.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like them to be able to reverse.
You got to be able to parallel park your dragon.
Just in case you were fast approaching a rocky outcrop.
Maybe there can be sort of Gran Turismo style license tests where
Yeah.
you have to like skirt around a boulder and
Some of the more precious dragons would not have damage collision because they obviously the licensing wouldn't.
the licensing wouldn't be there. Yeah, so
Yeah,
like if you had that one that Sean Connery played in that rubbish film, like that would have to remain pristine. The other ones could have like a wing fall off or whatever.
Yeah.
Can you shoot the wings off the dragons in Skyrim? And if not,
No.
why?
But you
not
should
really.
you should be able to shoot an arrow through its leathery flap.
It's leathery.
I don't
Flat.
know.
I don't know what that's called, but webbing probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
like a
armpit
duck's
webbing.
foot.
Yes, exactly. So yeah,
and
we want
then it would slowly lose altitude, which of course you'd be familiar
Oh,
with having flown a plane.
wow.
Oh, Tom, you've been
How do
flying
we get
planes.
onto that? Yeah, when I was on holiday last
Authorised.
week, I flew a plane with full authorization of the people who owned it. My girlfriend got me as a birthday present. My birthday was in December.
An aeroplane?
A flying lesson, and we finally had time to put it to use last week. This is quite interesting actually. Bear with me, because flying, it turns out, is exactly like playing video games. This is a rare case of video games informing something in my real life in a very useful way.
What, like old school video games where you had a joystick?
Not really, more like Jedi Starfighter.
Okay.
Barrel roll? Did you barrel roll?
I didn't, but I came close. They discouraged that. I was flying a little Cessna 4-seater over Brighton. So if you were
the
in
old
Brighton
Cessna.
on the 1st of May, I probably flew over the top of your head. Which
Did
is
you
a
have to
terrifying
gun
thought.
down any bogeys?
No, my girlfriend was very insistent before I took to the skies that I shouldn't make any machine gun noises or go pew 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 at any point. And frankly, I wouldn't have been heard anyway. But no, I did some good banking, and I did some inclining and descending. I flew from Shoreham Airport down to Rottingdean, back across the top of Brighton. I flew over the station, over the office.
Wowzers.
It was amazing.
Man.
It was a really nice day as well.
Did
It
you
was
buzz the tower?
site. I actually did request permission to buzz the tower, but I was told negative Ghost Rider, the pattern is full. Yeah, I would thoroughly recommend flying a plane to anyone, but obviously within certain boundaries.
Or a dragon.
It did remind me of. It's weird seeing, because you see like the country from the out the window of a commercial airplane all the time, like when you're flying on holiday or whatever. But when you're seeing the places you live, and you're flying over those and you're controlling it, it's a bit bizarre.
Did you swoop down for a view of your flat?
We could see my flat quite clearly, actually. So it's quite a distinctive.
It's massive.
Topography. Exactly, it's visible from space.
Good, right. We should move on. Suggestion number 2 was from Rodsnack. She just simply says Starhawk, although I think she may have a vested interest in it.
Are you referring perhaps to our friend Kerry, who works at Sony?
Yeah.
So she wants to talk about Starhawk.
Yeah, which apparently was out next Friday, although this was last week, so
Yeah.
it's probably out now.
Cool.
Anyone play Starhawk?
No, but I know that we've been having some difficulty with the review code, so presumably that's.
So this was the topic she was looking for.
This is payback, frankly. Yeah, review coming very soon. I haven't played it, but I assume it's like Warhawk, but with stars.
Warhawk
Yes.
was a real solid game for PSN. It existed for a long time. It might not have set the world on fire exactly, but it was well subscribed to and existed for a while.
It was. I think that's probably about the best summary of it. Within the PSN kind of bubble, it was very popular.
Maybe it's an indication of how well Dust may fare later in the...
Or how well Starhawk may fare.
Yeah, don't know really. I think it will probably be one of those where a lot of the people who read our site are a bit like, oh, that sounds interesting, and then the more dedicated PlayStation Network community, which doesn't necessarily always seem to be on sites like EG, really gets invested in it.
I think it may be better than people, perhaps not better than expecting, but it may be a game that people might not have on their radar.
Yeah, it's not as high profile as some of the there are some Xbox Live games that come around and the profile they get like Fez or Trials or whatever turns out to be huge, and this hasn't necessarily felt like that, but a bit like Journey, it's probably a game that might come and knock on people's doors and turn out to be really good.
Yeah, and it seems as well that the PSN community maybe don't have the outlets that. I mean, there's probably most of the same games.
Well, their web browser's rubbish.
Yeah, but I think if you're a fan of, particularly of that kind of Battlefield.
If you're a fan of this,
yeah,
you're
like
this.
If you like the Battlefield, like machine, different types of warfare, run and gun, and some flying and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I reckon note it down, have a little look.
Right, good. Well,
I might. Even
that's a
try.
compliment.
I'm a bit disappointed that they've gone with Starhawk as opposed to Warstalk.
Yeah.
With the story of a special bird that delivers babies through hostile conflict zones.
I think we're all sad.
Like Basra, but that's not anymore. That's different.
No, we can't say. We should move on. Rob G. Tai says, I read that the DS version of Ni no Kuni was cancelled for the Western market because Level 5 can't translate it.
I have absolutely
I have no idea if that's true at all.
But that game looks hot.
Yeah, I played Ni no Kuni on the PS3 a couple of weeks ago. Namco were nice enough to bring a copy around in some of the translated scenes, and it is like, if you like Studio Ghibli films, which you should because they're bloody amazing. Yeah, thanks. Touche. But if you are a fan of Studio Ghibli films, things like Spirited Away or Howl's Moving Castle or that sort of thing. And you like Level 5 games, this is like, this is
your
heaven
dream
on earth. It's amazing. It seemed, from the limited action I saw of it, it seemed like a kind of a mixture of a real time and a sort of turn-based RPG, a bit like the Mario and Luigi series, where you've got that kind of mixture of real time and turn-based elements in combat, and it has beautifully animated, as you would expect, cutscenes, really imaginative environments and exciting characters, and it just looks bloody amazing, frankly.
His question seems to suggest that they've looked at it and gone, "Oh, can't bother with that."
I can imagine that it's a harder decision to make on the handhelds translating something in that scope, because if you make that for the domestic market in Japan, it probably sells very well. Obviously that kind of content does better over there by default, and when it comes to translating for the West, you probably go PS3 360. Yeah, you would.
But then
DS,
again,
it's very hard to sell third-party DS things, and it could cost an absolute ton to translate. So I can easily imagine that's true.
then again, they do the Professor Layton stuff, so they would have a.
That's Nintendo though. Nintendo, if a Nintendo had picked it up to do it, then I would expect them to translate it. But yeah.
Julian Hill UK says, "What about talking about that charity hero who sung for 24 hours? He raised lots of money for Great Ormond Street and set a world record."
Wasn't he called Julian Hill?
Yeah, I was looking this up, and unless this is a coincidence, he is actually pimping himself, which is fine.
Yeah, that is fine.
Because he did raise £3,000.
Yeah, that's nothing to be sniffed at. Fair play.
No, for Great Ormond Street. And do you know how many songs he sang?
I don't.
536.
Oh, it's a bit high. 314.
That's incredible.
That's pretty
me and Tom are no strangers to karaoke.
300 of them were that song from Glee. Everyone sing.
300 of them could have been Bonnie Tyler. Should have been Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah.
That's a big song. Although I don't know if you can
Ordinary World by Duran Duran.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Mersey Mal, Guild Wars 2
skipping
beta
on, moving
we
weekend.
had some good anecdotes. Never mind. We'll skip those.
You've done well. We've got to move on. Look, we're running out of time.
Really?
Guild Wars 2 beta weekend.
What? I thought you said beta weekend.
There has just been one.
Beta
I
weekend.
thought you said Beetle weekend. I was like, what?
That's amazing. Anyone played it?
Ringo running around Guild Wars.
I didn't play this weekend, but I of course did play a closed beta weekend. It's very good. I don't know what what level people got up to, but when we played the closed beta weekend, they cheated. They hid an NPC in the back of the wilderness that bumped us up to level 30, so we got to play a mid-level. There's level that goes up to level 85, I think. So we got to play like a mid-ish level dungeon, and with the developers as well, which had a story. We played the story mode. So there were these. There was one boss that you had to kill, but to get to this boss, you had to kill like mini bosses, and they all had different tactics. So we got to really test out the bones of Guild Wars 2's dungeoning, and that was really good. That was my highlight of playing the game that weekend, because the team was working together. I was kind of tanking, which was weird for me because I never tank. I always try and do something irresponsible.
I've always thought of you as a bit of a tanker.
But I was tanking, and it brought to light Guild Wars 2's flexibility with the classes and everything it's trying to do.
This is great, Bertie, but we've got to move on.
Oh, God.
Sorry, I can talk about Guild Wars 2.
I can't wait for Guild Wars 2 to come out in 2049 or whenever it's finished, though.
Yeah.
Worst collector's editions. Worst collector's editions or collector's editions that were better than the game itself.
Oh, okay. This is quite a good one. Well, I was sort of bemused recently by the Metal Gear Solid HD collection, which was sort of dressed up like a Neapolitan ice cream sort of thing.
Wow.
And inside, you opened it and you're like, oh wow, there's a steel book, and oh, hang on, there's a steel book. And that's kind of it. I think there was a steelbook, and then there was the game.
Wasn't yours missing the game?
No, you opened the steelbook, and there was nothing in it, and it was just you were supposed to put the disc in it if you wanted to, or something.
Incredible.
Yeah, so that was weird. What else?
I liked the Two Worlds 2 Royal Edition or something. That there was all this palaver with Two Worlds 2 getting released, and apparently some stock got damaged, like in China or something, on a boat.
And they were at the bottom of the sea.
And so anyway, I covered this game loads, and this collector's edition, this Royal Edition, came along, and I found out what was wrong with it. This figurine of this busty woman, its head had come off. So I got a decapitated figurine of this busty woman.
I like all my women.
Didn't we get sent some cake recently that had gone off?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh, we got sent
decomposing cake.
We got sent a broken glass jar.
Yes, that was good, wasn't it? Yeah.
Tom nearly lost a finger.
Actually, looking back, do you remember Grand Theft Auto 4? It was a small game. You probably haven't heard of it. It came in a sort of one of those. What are they called? You know, the things in safety deposit boxes.
Yeah.
It came in one of those, and it sort of flap open, and you had the cheapest, tackiest, like hold-all bag that you could fold out. That I used it for a bit, and the zip broke within about 10 seconds of looking at it. And it had the soundtrack, but that was basically it.
Didn't we get a baseball bat?
No, we got a
Pool queue.
pool queue. Yeah, that was when Rockstar liked us and they sent us stuff to try and curry favour. These days they don't like us; they don't answer our phone calls. But what else did they? Oh, and for Chinatown Wars, they sent us chopsticks with GTA Chinatown.
Oh, yeah. That's good. Vadon 101. The effect art design can have on enjoyment of a game. Borderlands and Bioshock spring to mind.
I wouldn't say.
Okay, I don't know about that. I mean, I specifically with Bioshock, I don't know whether it was necessarily the art design so much as the world design that really affected that. And I think the same is probably true for Borderlands. Like Borderlands' whole, desolate frontier land kind of thing was very much an atmosphere thing rather than an art style.
The original
TF2,
Borderlands,
however.
Yeah, the original Borderlands looked just nondescript, murky, like everything else. And then they gave it that concept look, and then people got interested. So I guess
it got them interested, but it was more than that made it sort of appealing.
For stuff like
and Team Fortress 2 was definitely something that owed a lot to its art design, because it kept compelling you to come back because it just looked so luscious, and it made a huge difference to gameplay because it was really easy to identify the shapes of different classes and stuff.
World of Warcraft had a huge impact in that direction. Not only because it means it can run on less powerful PCs, so fewer PCs, so people were
actually more. Never mind.
So more people play it, but you can see it in all the MMOs that are developed today. Like the recently announced Elder Scrolls Online has forgone the sort of gritty realism of the actual single player Elder Scrolls games in favour of a more stylised and slightly cartoon look, perhaps so it can run on more machines.
Respect. Madfall Prototype 2 and how damn easy it was.
I haven't played it.
I didn't even notice.
I reviewed the first prototype and I liked it fine, but
the first one made me angry.
I
got dumped in a warehouse and was forced to fight seemingly infinitely respawning monsters and just gave up.
Yeah, I had a perfectly nice time playing it, apart from hating it when it did stuff like that, but I'd never had any particular desire to play a sequel.
So was it James Heller good? I don't know if you can.
Wow, because the main character is called James Heller.
Yeah, that's
okay. Because I didn't realise that. I thought that was probably the case though.
Ollie Mac, the return of turn-based games with Shadowrun and XCOM as current examples.
Oh yeah, well, bringing back classic genres is a really good thing. I really like, although I haven't played it, the idea of Legend of Grimrock as well in that respect. A kind of
yes, that's like all those games
grid-based dungeon crawler.
Absolutely love this
roguelikes as well on iPhone.
Yeah, love this new lease of life that Kickstarter is giving to some niche projects like Shadowrun. Well, maybe not niche.
Wasteland as well.
Yeah, and letting people go, well, no, there is an audience, and we're going to make a game. And turn-based fits today's platforms when you think outside of the core platforms like tablets and iPhones and things like that. Fits them perfectly. And I love turn-based games. I love that kind of chess sense.
I love the whole Kickstarter thing and the idea of impulse buying stuff that you're not going to get given for about 3 years.
Yeah.
I just worry that in 3 years' time everyone will be like, oh yeah, wow, did I really?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like when we get there, it's a great idea. It's like those ideas when people sit around and go, what game would you love to see? But
Viva Pinata 3.
Yeah, we've yet to get there.
I'll kickstart that. I'll kickstart that with a £5.
Wes Almond, Xbox commercial breaks / games on demand price strategy as topics for podcast, please. Tom.
As in the way that Xbox Live is inundated with adverts and you can't actually find anything that you want to do with it.
They're adding commercials.
They are adding pre-rolls.
Oh really?
For gold subscribers.
That does not surprise me. Pre-rolls are a very lucrative form of advertising, unfortunately.
Games on demand pricing strategy.
Have they got one? I thought their strategy was just to charge a ridiculous amount of money for everything.
There was a story knocking around last week or the week before where one of the Microsoft guys was like, why would we going to change it? It works.
The thing with Microsoft is what happens is they have this, whatever the strategy is, it's laid down, and everyone sticks doggedly to it for as long as it lasts, and then all of a sudden someone high up will make some sort of strategic pivot and it will filter back down through, and all of a sudden they're doing something utterly different. So they're a company where 1 week they can be going, yeah, no, it's brilliant, no, this is the way, it works for us, and blah blah blah, and then 10 seconds later they can be going, yeah, we completely scrapped that, and it was obvious that we were going to do that, and blah blah blah.
They're very on message as well. You're unlikely to find someone within Microsoft that contradicts what's going on at that point in time.
I've heard that this is because as a corporate culture they're very kind of what's the word? Sort of cultish in a way. Like everyone there is very on message, like in a genuine way. They don't You know,
it can be like talking to a robot at times. It's like, oh, okay.
I try to think of a nice sort of better way to put it. The people there really believe in what they're doing because they're very well marketed to internally, and so you end up with that sort of stuff filtering through and being believed by the people talking to you.
Yeah.
That's one of the things you really notice in PR is when the person you're dealing with doesn't believe what they're talking about, they frequently tell you they don't. And they say, but this is the line. Whereas the Microsoft guys never give you any inkling that they feel anything other than complete adherence to what they're discussing.
I think next gen, I think they're still feeling their way this generation with games on demand pricing, as in it's placeholder, and I think when it starts to matter, then you'll start.
Cool. Lady Shotgun game, growing trend of industry vets.
Oh, it should be said though that it would be much better, obviously, if the games were cheaper and that there weren't any fucking adverts.
That's true. Amen, brother.
Lady Shotgun game, growing trends of industry vets going indie. Will mobile ever overtake console for hardcore market? And games with cats in.
There's a bizarre trend, I think, now where
games with cats.
Mobile. There's beginning to be a tiny mobile backlash. I think where people are realising that perhaps that mobile gold rush wasn't the saving grace for all these indie developers. It's hard. That's kind of anecdotal, but I think we're finding that.
I don't think it's anecdotal. I mean, wasn't it Trip Hawkins the other week who was saying, you know, what the smaller developers doing this iOS stuff are starting to discover is that they need to go back to the old publishing model because they can't get their games to stand out. And there's definitely a degree of truth to that. I think most people who, I mean, the thing if you're an indie developer, I imagine. Is that it's quite difficult because you have your head down trying to do the thing that you're really passionate about that you're doing creatively, and then you have to sort of sit up and go, okay, right, how do I get people to like this and buy it? And that's only getting harder as more people see the rewards available to success and get involved and try to do it. I don't know if it's a backlash, but to go back to the original question, like mobile gaming amongst hardcore has overtaken console games. I mean, let's not. Not in the sense that, you know, everyone on Eurogamer believes that their mobile is a more important piece of gaming hardware to them than their Xbox or their PlayStation or their Wii, but to a large number of them will be playing more games on their mobiles, whether they really acknowledge it or not, than they do on their other machines. I mean, speaking anecdotally again, I think pretty much everyone here, I mean myself included, probably spends not the same amount of time necessarily, but buys more games for iOS or Android or whatever, probably not Android, than they do on a lot of other formats because it's cheaper and you can just impulse buy and you see people regularly who go, you should really try this. And
it's a faster type market as well. You don't want to kind of let opportunities pass you by. If all your friends are playing a game, not only do you see them, but you kind of want to get involved there and then as well, and it's kind of...
Yeah. Mobile usage in general is huge at this point. Like mobile phone usage, smartphone usage will overtake PC desktops as the means of looking at the internet within a couple of years. There are reports out that say that at the moment.
We see it on our own website.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, we look at traffic on our site quite closely, obviously, and the amount of people viewing Eurogamer through mobile smartphones specifically has doubled in the last year to quite a sizable percentage. It's like closing in on 20% of people now read the site through mobiles.
Games with cats.
Yeah, good point. Well, Viva Pinata had a cat, but it was only available in the shop.
Really? Why?
Yeah, you couldn't. Why? It was like it wouldn't wander into your garden. You had to like buy it from the shop. I can't remember what it was called. It was something like
Catashio.
It was something floss. It was like kitty floss or something.
Well, there's Tokyo Rumble.
What?
Is it Tokyo Rumble or Tokyo Jungle?
Oh, yeah, I think I know what you're
Tokyo Rumble in the
talking
Jungle.
And this is where animals,
technology.
safari-style animals, literally get it on in the streets of Tokyo.
Literally.
Not literally.
Get it on sexually.
No. They fight it
This
out.
is a really weird description.
Yeah. There are cats, all sorts of cats, big cats, small cats, and they fight each other. There's blood and...
That sounds epic.
It's great.
What other games have cats in them?
I think we need to move on.
Right.
We're running out of time. Saint JW. I've heard a lot from console playing friends about the rumoured next gen always online requirements. Doesn't bother me on PC, but console folk seem to take it as a grave personal insult. Interested in your views and comments.
It's no secret that people are going to want to try and stamp out piracy, and if they've got a wholesale platform change and there are more interesting things to do with the online internet connections with the next generation and what that will allow platform holders to do, I think DRM and stopping people pirate games is a part of that. I could entirely believe that they will have this happen.
A real danger, and the thing that we should all try and fight against if ever it comes up, is the idea of having to always be online for disc-based games. And the reason I think that is because whereas at the moment publishing is still finding its feet with digital distribution, and a lot of the rules are still being worked out. The rule for stuff that you buy and take home from the shop should always be that you will be able to play it for as long as you want.
Yeah.
If you make having an internet connection a requirement, that internet connection it's not just you can access the internet, it's that you're talking to something on the internet, probably like some sort of verification server. And if that verification server then goes away, you lose the ability to play the thing that you've paid money for, and I don't think that's acceptable.
No.
So that's a big issue for me. I know a lot of people who think it's an inevitability, but I think like a lot of things, the market will determine whether it's viable long term.
Yeah.
But that sort of thing could be the death knell for the kind of hardcore console experiences and PC experiences we care about in the long run, if it proves to be so off-putting to consumers and there's no other way.
Well, no time to dwell on that. Reg McFly, I want to know A, why Eve is so mental, and B, what this destroy Jita thing is.
Iceland.
Nearly 10 years. Nearly 10 years of an active fan base of 500,000 players or something like that. It's just deep and complex, and that's the game. So therefore, that's the players, and that's the politics.
I mean, in politics is a key word. I mean, it's basically a digital republic, isn't it? That's not ruled by the developers, but governed by them.
It's why it's so interesting.
Yeah, it's an analogy, an analog for the real world in a lot of ways, a sort of microcosmic view of it, because you've got these ruling developers who are completely beholden to their players in the same way that our elected leaders are, and that's why it's bonkers, and also why it's so brilliant to talk about.
Yeah. This Jita thing, in a nutshell, recently was Goon Swarm, this massive alliance within the game, like the most powerful alliance, and they're all on one server, remember. So they're a massive entity. The leader, the Mitani, who also happened to be the CSM Council of Stellar Management, player elected body chairman, who had to step down because he made some comment about someone killing themselves.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So he stepped down, everyone went bananas, and he tried to separate this from his real life person and his in-game character, and as a result he got banned from something or other. And he said when he came back from his ban, his alliance, Goon Swarm, was going to basically suicide bomb this Trade Republic hub, which is called Jita. And this is the sort of player thing that we're talking about. The developers told us, they went, that's fucking brilliant. Because this is the sort of emergent gameplay which rarely happens anywhere else. And they did. They bombed it. It lives on, but they made a massive impact on the game in that. And it just won't happen in any other MMO. They won't let players do that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Ready 2K, bring back Desert Island Games, lol. I assume he means Sandy Arc.
Sandy Games, exactly. We should. Let's do it.
Sandy Bridge Games.
Sandy Bridge. Patrick Cheaper Amps Day Childs. Longest name in the world.
Patrick Day Childs. I know that. I've seen his name in my inbox.
Yes. Best/worst character from Star Wars that should appear in a Battlefront game but hasn't yet.
Don't know. Nothing to do with the Trandoshans. They can all just go away.
I like some of the more. I like the ones from Knights of the Old Republic, stuff like that. I'd like to see them in there.
Yeah, I haven't watched a Star Wars film for ages, and I haven't played a Battlefront game for ages. So I can't even remember where the crossover is.
No, I'm sure that's
R2D2.
Jordan Kovateri Zadai. Hopefully I pronounced it right. Opinions on this DLC? No, I really don't.
On this DLC?
Right, i.e. stops matchmaking problems. Wrong, i.e. people aren't getting the full content that's on the disc, and it encourages hacking.
I think this comes back to the thing we were talking about earlier about always on stuff. A lot of this stuff is still being worked out. A lot of the rules of commerce are still being figured out based on the way that people do business. I've always said, I say this on the podcast at least once every month. The things that developers and publishers listen to is the ringing of the tills. If you're buying stuff and you buy it in large enough quantities, they'll keep doing it. So if you want on-disc DLC to disappear, then you need to not buy it.
Yeah.
I do think it's bad. I think it's one of those things that you can justify and rationalise as much as you like, but fundamentally is a bit of an awkward and annoying thing. And you know it's a bad thing, even if you're doing it for... I think even Cliff Blazinski said recently, didn't he, that he looked forward to an era when this was no longer necessary on a business level.
I think it's like anything. People take the Witcher 2 guys and all the praise they get from the community for the sort of admirable practices they have, and then you go to someone like perhaps EA who has this on-disc DLC, and it's like, you're being sold to, you're funding a company's business, but sometimes you'd like it to be less transparent. You'd like to be a bit more of a wholesome experience.
I think the thing is, actually, recently, EA has gone from that period where they seem to be really sorting shit out and producing more high-quality content to being bad old EA again in a lot of ways. And it's been kind of depressing to watch, actually.
It's like, I like your games, but stop literally reaching into my pocket for money.
Right. We're not even halfway through yet. I'm going to have to be like Jeremy Paxman.
Just keep doing it.
Jeremy Paxman at the end of University Challenge, where he just starts shouting, "Come on! Come on!"
I'm going back under the desk.
We've got another 15 minutes or so, surely.
Yeah. John Brunton, will the Xbox ever give in to Blu-ray, and will it be losing out if it doesn't?
Yes, and yes. There you go. Move on.
Adamski UK, next-gen consoles this, next-gen consoles that. The big question is, will the controllers have more or less buttons than now?
Touchscreen.
I don't know. Who cares?
Go touchscreen with that one.
Go touchscreen.
Touchscreen, mark my words.
Go touch yourself.
So fewer buttons.
I don't know.
I reckon you'll still have the pads for the control thumbs. Because you need an analog, you need that fidelity of control, but I think you'll have touchscreen for all this superfluous guff.
Yes, why not?
There
30-second
Quote
review.
me.
Ad spend is moving from console to social gaming, such as Farmville. How can the console market re-engage advertisers?
Grow its own crops.
Hang on, re-engage advertisers in what sense?
I have no idea.
Okay.
That's the question.
Console games aren't funded through advertising.
I think...
Is he talking about in-game advertising?
maybe
perhaps?
it means adverts on Xbox Live.
Oh, I don't know.
Gregory Gregg, so good they named him twice. Thoughts on the new God of War? I love this series and I will always buy it, but do you think we need a new mythology rather than sticking with Kratos?
I'd love a new mythology.
I'd like to see more originality.
I think the new game looks good. There was a lot of backlash about the multiplayer and things like that. I like it. I like the gratuitous
I haven't looked at it at all.
gore. It's 4-player. I think it looks good, but it does seem like they're trying to innovate with those gameplay mechanics that perhaps it seems like the fans don't want, rather than, okay, let's take it somewhere else. Stop trying to up the ante in the Greek mythology. Why not move to Norse mythology or something else, Egyptian?
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Cats.
Yeah. Then you get some cats in games.
James Tillett, Dust514. That was it.
Oh, okay.
I think looks well. Don't know about looks, but sounds good. Free to play, really convincing. There's nothing to stop you trying it, at least. The question is, can a spaceship game make a good FPS or a decent enough one? It's got classes. Is it going to be sticky enough? I don't know. They're using a lot of EVE Online's systems, so they've got a deep game. They've got deep mechanics. But the core one, this run and gun shooting, will that be good enough? That's the biggest question.
Sounds like a fascinating concept. I'm sure it'll be interesting to observe because CCP are involved. I couldn't care less. It's a shooter. I was just bored of them.
Luke Karma, 2 minutes of gaming-related word association. Hilarity will ensue.
I doubt
It's
that.
kind of like Mallet's Mallet, I guess. So if I said Horstachio, but you might
Viva
say...
Pinata.
What? I don't understand.
No hesitation.
Okay.
That failed.
Okay.
Right, moving on. Tony Snork
Hilarity.
Porter. EA and others once used codes for online. So online passes, I guess. Good or bad, I sell used games and point out that you need to pay extra for points to go online. I see why they've done it. Does it put people off buying the extra points or even follow-up games because of the risk that there might only be a few people playing online?
I think it's all tied into the price of games, the second-hand market, and it's all one big thing. So there's not one easy answer. If in general the price of games went down, I don't think people would care. But it's publishers trying to protect their games. If the second-hand market disappeared, then hopefully the price of games would come down. There wouldn't be any need for this.
Well, there's all sorts of arguments both ways.
Online passes rankle, but it's...
I actually, I mean, just completely anecdotally, based on my own personal experience, I don't buy second-hand games, but not because of any particular reason about this. More to do with the fact that I don't want, like, you know, to open a manual and someone's pubic hair to fall out. But I wouldn't theoretically have a problem with it because I'm not usually into the multiplayer side of these games, so I'm usually into it for a single player aspect anyway. So yeah.
Chris Quinn, is Mario a mass murderer? Do those Goombas and Koopas have families who care about them?
Well, I actually know Mario in real life. He comes around the office every so often.
Oh god!
And he doesn't strike me as a mass murderer.
This is really clever on your part. You're doing a joke about your boss's dad looking like Mario. There's so many ways for this to backfire for you.
He's athletic because he can jump high onto Goomba's heads.
Yeah, well, obviously
I think he should be stopped. Yeah. Lloyd Clayton, can everyone please stop the PS3 versus Xbox thing? Proper gamers have both.
I don't think.
I think it kind of has stopped, hasn't it? I mean, there's virtually nothing like massive exclusive on. I mean, there are massive exclusives, but they're so rare now. Whenever we do face-offs, we've got to the point where the technology is virtually identical across the two. So yes,
I think the point is, that comes from the people playing it, the commenters. It's up to if they want to stop bickering about what's better.
They never will, though, will it?
I don't think so.
It's been going for decades.
Yeah, exactly. It's.
Kieran Singh, what do Sony need to do to stop the Vita flopping?
Make lots of really good games for it that are exclusive to it that you can't get anywhere else in any.
Or just Monster Hunter.
Yeah, well, Monster Hunter is a good example of it. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing that excels, the key to life, if you like, is exclusive and original content. That is what gets people excited.
They can do that, lowering the price always helps, but that won't happen for a while.
I want Phil Reed. I want to hear a 15-minute discussion on Battletoads versus Double Dragon, please. Well, you're out of luck, Phil. We haven't got 15 minutes. But
I played Battletoads and I remember it being difficult. And
Double Dragon was much better than Battletoads.
I liked Double Dragon better.
Yeah. No, Battletoads had toads in it though.
It was annoyingly hard.
Yeah.
Double Dragon didn't have dragons in it. In Justin76, why the next consoles must, in capital letters, match the power of the PC at time of release? I don't think they will.
Well, it's difficult. I don't think they'll have. If you had looked at the actual horsepower, maybe it would lag behind PS3. But then you have programmers are programming to the machine rather than going through a layer of operating system, so they can get more out of it because the innards.
Yeah, a dedicated device can sometimes be.
So I think they'll get relative power, but then I don't think we're going to see less about power. I think next generation there's going to be less boasting about how mega powerful these things are.
I think there'll still be some of that, but I think you're right in the sense that the cost of developing for the current generation consoles is already almost prohibitively expensive, and the differentiation these people will need in order to make their games sell and their consoles sell will come through other forms of innovation.
And it's like, hey, we're all in the same boat. We all want mega powerful machines and to see like really great, astonishing things. But I think, and I would like to have developers less focus on maybe extra polygons and fewer polygons, and then focus a bit more on the gameplay.
Yeah. I think there will probably be a bunch of really cool, or not necessarily really cool, but successful launch games for both consoles, because launch games tend to sell well, especially if they're. It's always a good time to launch new IP because there's an audience that has just spent loads of money and wants to be impressed by something new and different. Longer term, I don't know what the prospects really are for the next gen consoles. I'm quite worried about it, to be honest.
Yeah, there are bigger things afoot, bigger changes, and
it's so expensive to make even seemingly mediocre games. So if it's a horsepower race, then I think it could be an issue.
Yeah. Mr. Dogbert UK, how pro gaming has gone so big in the last few years.
It really has. Esports and stuff is absolutely effing massive.
I think maybe it's people are just when the money goes there, and companies like Valve and Blizzard back it with money as well. They put money in to make sure there's a community there. When they put the money in, then these things will rise, but it's getting bigger and bigger. Maybe people are just starting to take it seriously.
On the other hand, though, as the great philosopher Diddy once said, "My money, my problems."
Exactly.
Indeed. Majir Fraser,
no modems.
Microsoft make a Super Battle Smash Royal game like
No. What's the PlayStation one called? Franchise Galore Attack Apocalypse.
Well, there's another game that came out that looks like it's aping Trials.
I saw that. Yeah.
I don't know, but. In a way, I can't blame Sony, but Nintendo's game making.
I don't think Nintendo can claim to have like a complete exclusivity on a game where your characters fight each other anyway.
But I think people might come to see that this is actually why Nintendo are a really good game maker, because
people are less invested in characters from.
Sorry, I'll start doing that at some point.
Characters from Sony exclusives and Microsoft exclusives.
If you put your product right up against a Nintendo powerhouse product, you're probably going to come unstuck at.
I don't know. I think the unique. I think that's that's a perfectly reasonable point. But the unique appeal of Super Smash Brothers owed a lot to the ecosystem within which it existed. I.e., as you say, lots of character-driven games with huge communities that are really into them, and very dedicated gamers who like old school styles of game, and it really works for them. I don't know whether the same ecosystem exists amongst PlayStation owners. Yeah. But with that said, I think everyone would probably at this point like to punch Nathan Drake in the face. So it works for me.
Andre Kazmaier, will we see Shenmue 3 one day? Maybe with the help of Kickstarter?
I really doubt it.
Kickstarter's for smaller projects, not for Shenmue.
Well, I don't know. I doubt it though. I think it's probably been too long and.
Lest we forget. Alex Taylor, if Sega put their arcade Model 2 board in the Saturn, would Sony have enjoyed the success they did with the PlayStation, and would Sega still be in the hardware race?
Absolutely.
Sega's.
I know
that's such a what if.
Well, I've got an answer.
Sega's unravelling. Actually, Damien McFerrin wrote a really excellent article about this a little while ago called "The Fall of Sega Enterprises." It's worth reading if you haven't. Which sort of catalogued the way that Sega unravelled, through the successive console generations that led up to the Dreamcast. And I think the answer is probably no. A lot of very bad decisions had already been made, and a lot of bad money was being thrown after bad money.
There was that brilliant story that when the Sega executives saw the specs for the PlayStation, rather than they panicked and immediately just threw in an extra processor to try and beef up its 3D capabilities, because they designed a machine which was really good at 2D, which they thought was still going to be.
It's sadly very probably true. I mean, there are other things. Like the 32X, for example, which was released 6 months before the Saturn. Oh God, there's just so much calamitous bollocks that led to Sega falling apart.
Poor Sega, it's a shame. Robert Brewer, is freemium good or bad for game design, specifically iOS and Android, as everything seems to be freemium these days for both? There are good ways and bad ways to use freemium. I have seen a game phone game use freemium in a good way yet. I assume he means he hasn't.
Right, yeah.
It's annoying.
You can use anything in a good or a bad way, really. I mean, you could use online pass in a sensible way, I expect, although, good luck trying to figure out.
Genocide, can't use that in a good way.
Okay, you've got me there.
You've hit the mark with that one.
I'm not a fan of, just purely from maybe it's because I'm getting old and silly, but purely from a sort of whimsical sort of perspective. I like I like creative endeavours to be truly creative and divorced from the monetization aspect, and I think that freemium as a concept is just so inherently based on the idea of making money from the stuff you're doing that it probably inhibits creativity in a way that makes the products less pure. Like Fez is an example of a complete opposite of this. A game that the guy forced the price down because he believed that's what it should cost. And if you play it, it's not the sort of game that's been designed to be exploited with DLC and all the rest of it. And I'll always prefer things like that to things like the stuff that NG Moko does or whatever. Although there are still, good aspects to those things as well. It's like you don't have to like everything about the things that you like. If you know what I mean, the author of some of your favourite. Like I really like the Ayn Rand novels, and I think Ayn Rand is a complete mentalist. So,
yes, Michael Stubbs, plug Rezzed and the Expo. You should totally do an exclusive reveal of something that is Rezzed or the Expo on the podcast.
Okay.
Also talk about cats. Everyone likes cats.
Okay, exclusive reveal of something at Rezzed. Introversion are going to do a developer session. We haven't announced that yet.
Ooh.
So I don't think they'll mind me saying.
And they are making a hot game,
which
I'm very excited about. I don't know if can I mention the game they're making?
Have they mentioned it?
They have mentioned. They're making a game called Prison Architect.
Yeah, well, their session will be about Prison Architect.
Where you make a prison.
You make and run a prison with it's kind of think Theme Hospital a little bit, but
bit dark.
That's a very
Yeah, well, they're one of a number of people I'm talking to about developer sessions, and we're hoping to announce some stuff for it in the next few days, actually. So yeah, watch this space.
Yes, go to res.com.
Expo, if I told you what some of the stuff that we've lined up for the developer sessions
Yes.
at the Expo, I would probably be killed.
The Expo is
Hot,
very
even
exciting.
hotter.
Yeah, utterly ridiculous guests for the developer sessions this year. You'll want to bring stuff for people to sign, let's put it that way.
Last question, Matthew Smart. Unsung heroes of XBLA and PSN. Great games overlooked or overshadowed.
It's an interesting one. Uno, obviously.
Classic.
Stuff from the early days, probably.
There's so much on there.
Pretty much anything made by Pom Pom, which is basically like that one guy whose name brilliantly is Michael. Stuff like Mutant Storm Reloaded. Those games are always wonderful.
Geometry Wars. I'll just plug Geometry Wars game.
Trials. What else? Did he just specifically want Xbox or?
You said PSN.
Oh, okay.
But you can mention anything.
What's that bloody thing called? The
Filbert.
Not the.
I haven't got a library.
It's made by that New
Zealand.
Zealand bunch, and it's about like little.
Side.
Yeah. What's the game though? Grip Shift.
Oh,
Shift.
yeah.
That's brilliant. I always loved that. That was brilliant. That came out on the PSP originally. I remember reviewing that.
There was a pool and snooker game.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I can't remember
which
what
came
it's called.
out on the XBLA early days,
No.
and a kind of a resource management game where I had to run like a space station, which was pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
Outpost Colloquy, I think.
Oh yeah,
That I remember
Outpost
that.
Colloquy.
There was that one with the little caveman guy.
Cloning Clyde?
Yes, very good. Cloning Clyde. Pulled that one out.
That was co-op as well. That was one of the first co-op games.
Oh God.
There's loads.
There's fucking loads of things on there.
I think
and on PlayStation as well, actually, and often stuff that's a bit more esoteric and weird. I'm struggling to think of examples, unfortunately. There was that one that came out of the demo scene community for PlayStation. I can't remember what it was called, but it's just basically some amazing, weird graphical demos that you flew around.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good. Well, I think we've done well there.
that was really enjoyable.
We've ripped through those.
Thank you for not having any ideas and forcing us into this awesome new format.
Yes, thank you very much, listener.
Let's do this periodically.
We'll do it again, maybe. Thank you to Tom Bramwell.
You're welcome. It was a lot of fun.